I'm Rick Zamperin, and this is the CHCH Newsmakers podcast. For the first time in 30 years, Canadian rock icons Triumph back on tour, and they're going to take Hamilton's TD Coliseum by storm this Saturday night. Rick Emmett, Mike Levine, and Gil Moore went from playing high school auditoriums to rocking some of the biggest arenas on the planet. They sold 15 million albums worldwide and are members of the Canadian Music Hall of Fame, the Canadian Songwriters Hall of Fame, and Canada's Walk of Fame. Joining me on Newsmakers to discuss how this dynamic trio first came together and are now back for the Triumph 50th anniversary tour. Here are Rick Emmett and Gil Moore. Gentlemen, thanks for joining me.
It's nice to be here, Rick.
It's been 50 years of kicking butt and taking names. Rick, tell us about this tour and coming back.
Well, I didn't think I was going to do it, but the songs are the things that keep dragging you, into the present and towards the future. Hold On became a song that got used by music educators across the country, and Lay It on the Line got played in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and then Gil and the rest of the guys came at me and said, "Come on, let's see if we can't, resurrect the rock and roll machine and reload it." So here we are in Sault Ste. Marie in a hotel room.
And you're soon to be in Hamilton. Gil, what's it like having the boys back together?
Well, it's fantastic energy that we have in the room, and coming to Hamilton's special for me because I grew up on West 32nd Street on the mountain. And so I've got a lot of memories there from being in elementary school at Shadoke and so on. So it'll be good to get back to Hamilton and try to light the fuse there in the big arena.
Gil, take us back to mid-70s. You're in, your formative years, trying to figure out, what this band, what this music career is going to look like. What was it like back then?
It's just a struggle against all odds that are against you. Like all the bands that you grow up in, you just get to see these little tiny successes where you get to play at the church dance or in the town hall or something, that the bands generally fizzle out and break up and never really gain an audience. Triumph took off like a rocket ship. And so you just kind of strap your seatbelt on and go, what the heck happened? And we finally got lucky and we got the right musicians and people like us. This is fantastic. But it's like a bucking bronco that just goes off and you're holding on for dear life.
Rick, what do you remember about those early days?
Well, the first meeting that I had with those guys when they came and recruited me, I thought, well, these are the smartest guys I've ever met as musicians. And then Gil had a garage that was full of stuff, PA equipment and lights, and and then we were in a bowling alley, a rented bowling alley in Mississauga, where there was all this junk, like just cans of park cans and trussing, and yeah, it was nuts. And that was like September of 1975. But, he talks about the rocket ship ride. There are moments I can remember where we'd be sitting in a dressing room looking at each other and thinking, yeah, this is it. It's over. The roller coaster ride has crashed. But, it was like miraculous that it kept finding a new life and resurrecting. And here we are, senior citizens sitting in a hotel room and talking to a guy on a podcast about, hey, the band is still alive, apparently. So, pretty good.
It is amazing. 50 years later, what an incredible ride it has been. Gil, back to you. The name Triumph, how did that come about?
Just got it from a local high school rep that was booking my band, and I said, I'm starting a new band. We're gonna have a new name. And Mike and I were at that point, it was the embryonic stage. We hadn't found Rick yet. And I said, have you got any good names? And right off the top of her head, she blurted out two names, one of which was Triumph. I hung up. I called Mike Levine and I said, Mike, what do you think of this name? And I go, Triumph. And he just goes, done. What a great name. So it's that simple.
Do you remember what the other band name was?
I don't remember the other band name. I remember some alternates to Triumph that we came up with that paled in comparison. But no, I don't remember what her other suggestion was. And I also don't remember her name, so I can't even give her proper credit. So
Gil, when did Triumph get it? When did you feel like, okay, we have something here?
First gig. I mean, we, like I said, as young musicians, you get the feeling of whether your band is going over, and in most cases, it's a struggle because you're playing someone else's music. No one's really ever heard of you other than maybe your friends, and you're trying to impress people, and they're hard to impress. So when we played at Simcoe District High School, which is our first show in September of '75. Like, you could feel the audience pressing up to the stage. And instead of sort of a look of sort of like, the look on their faces was more like that. You could see their eyes opening and their mouths opening and stuff. And I'm looking at Rick and he's looking at Mike and Mike's looking at me, and we're kind of going, I think we got it. I think this is what lightning in a bottle is. This is like, wow.
Rick, is this bringing back great memories?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and we sit around, when we're having meals or when we're doing interviews, and we have these conversations, and then these things come back and you go, yeah, I kind of do remember. I mean, he's talking about Simcoe High School. I remember him, there was one time where a principal didn't want to pay us because our truck had wrecked his grass outside the gym, and Gil kind of taking the guy on, going, and I was thinking, man, I like being in a band with guys that are a lot taller and stronger than I am. This is going to be good. So it was a nice club to join, but I do want to add this, that I don't think I figured the thing about the band out until 1978, 79, when I wrote the song Hold On, and I went, okay, we called ourselves Triumph, but why? And then once you've sort of established that connection to the audience, to the folks that are out there that have paid to see you, it's not just a question of, hey, let's party all night and have a great time. Triumph sort of became a band that was, hey, there's a magic in this. There's a magic in music. There's dreams that we're sort of trying to live out, and you're helping us do this. And so there was a connection that got made through that song. And then I went, oh, okay, I think I got this. So that group of songs that have now sort of become the evergreen ones, Hold On, Magic Power, Lay It on the Line, Never Surrender, Fight the Good Fight. These were things that I think gave the band a kind of a soul and a spirit that it didn't have until we figured that out. And yes, there were striped pants, there was that too.
Rick, was that your made it, like we've made it moment?
I don't know. The thing about made it, and you're trying to distill this down to something where I don't think that's the truth of things. I think the truth of things is that life keeps throwing monkey wrenches in and coming up with challenges, and you got to kind of keep getting back off the mat and going, okay, what are we going to do? What can we do that's better than what we did before? How do we correct these mistakes? And I think one of the things that our audience loves about the band is that it kind of says, yes, this is, it doesn't boil down to one moment or this thing that we can take for granted. Triumph always kind of had this, I don't know, willpower, I think, ambition, whatever, that kind of stuff, perseverance.
Gil, why do you think Triumph's music was such a big hit, not only in Canada, but around the world?
I think we had an unusual group of chefs in the kitchen. Mike and I were bluesmen, and so we came from a blues roots in every sense, whereas Rick came from a progressive background with classical mixed in and had much broader tastes and styles and attributes to his playing than we did. So when you mix two bluesmen with this other element, chef, I'll say, in the kitchen, you get something that's not stock. And I think that's the difference. I mean, people, it seemed like forever they were trying to rename us as something. And I remember at one point they called us precious metal because there were arguments. Well, they're not heavy metal. And then other people, oh no, they're hard rock. Well, no, they are heavy metal. Listen to this. And then someone coined the precious metal. So people were trying to put a finger on it. And I think that indicated that we had a musical signature that was somewhat distinctive, I think. And hopefully, the the soup that came out of the kitchen. People liked it. So here we are.
And it's still tasty all these years later. That is for sure. Gil, I'm going to ask you this.
I don't know if that explains it. That's the best I can do on short notice.
Makes sense to me. Gil, I'll start with you on this question, then I'll ask Rick as well. Hamilton just hosted the Juno Awards not that long ago, a few weeks ago. I was shocked to learn just the other day that you guys had never won a Juno. Like that is shocking to me.
Yeah, well, we were nominated for Group of the Year 5 times in a row, I think, or 5 times in 6 years. But I don't know. We maybe had a Juno curse. I think the same thing's happened to Drake. Has Drake won yet? For he should have won it umpteen times. I don't know if he has. There's a Drake curse, but I guess we were the first group with a Drake curse.
I guess so. Rick, your thoughts? Does it weigh on you? Does it matter?
Well, we're in their Hall of Fame, which was a lovely thing, so there is that. And I've been nominated other times in other projects that I was involved in. So there's that. You know what? Let me spin this a bit and just say it's nice to be a Canadian band. I love that because the competition is always so stiff. And it's stiff from a lot of different directions. Like I've got pals in Glass Tiger. Alex Lifeson is a friend in Rush. And, when you're up against Rush, it's 9 times out of 10 you're probably going to lose. Pretty good band, And then there were other years where there was like Platinum Blonde and Blue Rodeo, and so many different acts from so many different kinds of walks of musical life. So you don't mind losing when what you're losing to is something of I don't know, quality and pride. Those are good things.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And being nominated is, that's a highlight as well. And I'll say this, you just listed just a small sample of the amazingness that Canadian musicians have done and have provided fans over the years. Like we, as a nation, punch way above our weight when it comes to some ultra globally recognized musicians. It's incredible.
Yeah, I think you can thank the people that did invent things like Canadian content and the Junos and Karis over the years has been a loyal fan of the art form. Like it helped everything: studios, engineers, producers. Like Canada punches way above its weight when it comes to record producers. And Gil's got Metalworks Institute now, and there's other generations where it's coming up. The quality is incredibly high, and it's something we can be incredibly proud of.
Absolutely. Rick, we'll stick with you on this one. You left the band in '88. Did you ever think you guys get back together?
Nope, absolutely not. And I said it, so I appear to be a terrible hypocrite and a liar, and I go, well, I'm human, But it comes back to the songs, that personality and that character that sort of keeps coming back up off the mat and going, come on, buddy, let's go back out on the road and get in front of people and see how it works. I am a musician and an artist, and there were things that I wanted to do that I couldn't do when I was in the Triumph box. But the Triumph box, it keeps morphing and changing, and so I go, okay, you've seduced me back in.
Gil, being a Hamilton guy, you guys are playing TD Coliseum this Saturday night as part of your 50th anniversary tour. What's it like playing in your hometown?
Well, never played that arena before. So I was there to see Paul McCartney, to check out the arena, and it's quite nice. And Mississauga is my hometown and has been for most of my life, but I'll never forget my Hamilton roots. And so it's, for me, a thrill. I can still remember going to Mohawk Trail kindergarten, my mom driving me up on the bumpy gravel roads to get there. And even Shadok, and when I was there for grade 1, I can still recall the schoolyard. I remember one day slipping on the ice in the schoolyard. I mean, it gets so darn cold in those winters, and I banged the front of my head on a rock, and I had an egg the size of your fist, and I went home, and my mother's, Guilford, what on earth did you do? So it's funny, these little memories that you have. And my first dog, my first pet, was a stray that just followed me home from Shadok. So I have all those cool memories of Hamilton. And of course, today I have a lot of friends in Hamilton. The Hamilton Music Collective is an amazing organization that I work with on the education side. The Music Hall, a beautiful venue in downtown Hamilton that supports a lot of music initiatives that are near and dear to myself and Rick and Mike, for that matter. So Hamilton's a great music town, and we're just really proud to be able to be there and celebrate with the folks. And I understand the ticket sales are through the roof, so that's just an incredible, nice thing for us to see that level of enthusiasm.
Yeah, I checked how many available tickets there were through Ticketmaster and livenation.ca, and there's not a lot left. So if you want to go to the show, not you guys, you're going to be there, obviously entertaining the crowd, but if anyone watching and listening to this wants to go, you better get your tickets fast. Rick, you know, you guys have been around for 50 years now. Does it feel like 50 years?
Well, my knees would say yes. You know, yeah, it does. I mean, I've been down a road where, I mean, I made more albums out of Triumph than I did in it. And so, and my road has been, you know, varied, you know, but I do have memories. Like, let me give you some Hamilton memories. We played Hamilton Place once, early days, and, you know, blew off our flash pots and shot off our pyro, you know, our flamethrower that we had, propane torch, which, you know, I think it's had a great career of its own. In any case, the Hamilton Place said, you're never going to work this town again. You know, that's it. We're your band. And it was like, Gil said, it doesn't matter. We'll play the arena. You know, like, that was Gil's attitude, right? So that's a Hamilton memory I have. But I also, on my own, I played Festival of Friends and did a thing there. And I was sort of acoustic and finger-style guitar and stuff. So, yeah, I have really sweet memories. I played a country bar there once with my own band. And I was going out an exit and was going to step up and grab the post between the two doors, thinking I could haul myself up. But the post was one of these ones that sort of just went in between two locking doors. And so it came and it hit me right in the head. So when Gil was talking about, you know, being a little kid and falling his knees, he said, I once had to spend an evening in a hospital in Hamilton where a nurse was deciding, should it get stitches? I don't know if it should get stitches. Well, I think maybe we can do this so you won't have a big scar on your head, Rick. I go, well, that'd be good. But then I had to go back and play the gig with this big butterfly Band-Aid on my forehead. And so then, I would do a big solo in the middle of the show. You know, I was always a bit of a ham bone. And the other guys in the band came back on stage after, and they'd all taped giant Band-Aids on their foreheads. So that when I turned around and looked at the band, I go, okay. So that's a Hamilton memory I will never forget. I'm standing on a stage and having these guys like, what? What's the matter, Rick? With these Band-Aids on their heads.
That is incredible. What can we expect from this Saturday show? What do you have planned for the audience?
Oh boy, that's a loaded question. This is a reloaded version of the Rock and Roll Machine. So, yeah, put your seatbelt on. It's going to be an extravaganza. We've got a lot of new tricks up our sleeve, because a lot of the things that we might have done back in the day, I mean, we couldn't do because the technology didn't exist. So it's definitely a show for today, but it's got some throwback moments as well. So don't think anybody's going to be disappointed. Not if we can help it.
Hey, Gil, looking back at your illustrious career, what are you most proud of?
Just letting my mom and dad see that, you know, I wasn't a derelict. You know, I think as parents, you know, I have 3 kids. And, you know, and Rick is a great family, and so does Mike. And I think it's at a certain point, it becomes about your kids and seeing them grow up. And I know that when I quit high school, I really hurt my father particularly, but he got over it so quickly and just said, Gil, if you're going to be a drummer, be the best drummer that you can be. And I know he wanted me to be a lawyer or a doctor or something. And he thought I had the aptitude, but I was very hard-headed young guy. So, yeah, it was great that they lived long enough to see that everything worked out, and Triumph was a big success, and they were very proud of that.
Hey, Rick, what about you when it comes to legacy and looking back at your career? What stands out to you as being some of those proud moments or achievements?
Well, there's too many to, go into on a podcast. That's why I write books and poetry and stuff. I'm going to say this. The friendship that I have, which I lost and then got back, when I came back into the Triumph fold 2007, 2008, that brotherhood means a lot to me. Gil, he talks about being a hard-headed kid, but as he got older, his head got softer. And I think his brain was kind of growing, and I'm happy and I'm proud of the fact that we always had a sense of humor amongst us, And I just want to mention this too, how happy I am and just kind of tickled pink to be in a band with Phil X and Todd Kearns and Brent Fitz, and these guys, they're going to be in Hamilton. So it's not just a question of the show, which Gil was always focused on the show, and that's a good thing, but I was kind of always focused on the music, and the music is like, what's going to surprise people? They're going to go, listen to the harmonies this band has. I didn't realize Triumph was a vocal band, and it always was in my head, but now in reality, it's this incredible thing. There's clips on social media where you can see the band warming up backstage and singing these choruses, and it just, I swear to God, it gives me goosebumps all the way right down to my pinkies. It's like, it's amazing, and so that's it's a legacy thing for me. I go, hey, I'm proud of this. This is a really cool thing.
I want to ask you both this final question. 50 years from now, I'm not going to be around, I'm sure, but we're going to be talking to, another illustrious Canadian band. What's your advice to today's young, up-and-coming musicians? Gil, we'll start with you.
Well, I would say focus on your originality, on what it is you have to offer that isn't, copycat formula stuff. Unfortunately, a lot of the advice that young people get is to try to emulate, and there's no benefit in emulation. It's one thing to learn as we did when you're starting to play and you don't have any of your own music, and we played Led Zeppelin songs, for example, and there's a learning curve that goes along with playing other people's music, of course, and performing, singing melodies they sang or whatever the case may be. But at a certain point, you need to wander into the wilderness and try to find out what you have to say that's an original thought, word, lick, vocal, melody, signature of some sort. And ultimately, if you aren't able to do that, you are unlikely to gain an audience. And the proof in the pudding is simply to look across the landscape of successful artists today and look at the fact that, well, if you compare them, there's very few that are really similar to each other. They're generally, they could even in the same areas of music. Like I love country music. I love Chris Stapleton, for example. And some people might go, oh, well, there's other people like Chris Stapleton. They strum guitars and they wear the same kind of hat. Well, to me as a musician, no. He's got a very, very unique approach to his music that translates into the emotion within the song that comes across. And to me, that's why he's a big success. So I say the same thing, regardless of the type of music. Sort of try to find your own voice as your talent will allow you to do, and woodshed like crazy. Like there's absolutely no substitute for practice and experimentation. The late great Gordon Lightfoot said famously, it's 90% perspiration and 10% inspiration. That would really be my advice as well.
It's great advice. Rick, how about you? For any young up-and-comer picking up some drumsticks or stringing the guitar, what advice do you have for them?
Well, Gil's advice was pretty good. He should maybe be running a school. That's pretty good. Originality is important. I would also stress the whole idea of diversification. I think that in Triumph's case, our original sort of chemistry, Gil had a really strong understanding of the production side of a band and that sort of eventually became this thing of how do you make records and how do you engineer records and what kind of gear is the right kind of gear to be able to make things happen. Mike had been a producer and understood being in the studio. I'd never been in the studio before as my own. I'd played on other people's records, but I'd never been a sort of a producer, arranger kind of a person. So, but I think in our modern world, I mean, we're sitting here now and technology is one of the things that's making this happen. And so you have to have a real solid understanding of how that is going to incorporate itself into your career. How do records get made? How do you generate a presence on social media and all of those kinds of things? It's a complex world now, and it's a digital universe, and there's no way around that. That's the reality. So, that would be my advice. Like, you better make sure you're becoming a jack of all trades. Gil's right that at a certain point you're gonna need to be a master of your own universe, a master of your own destiny kind of thing. That there has to be an integrity to whatever brand you've decided you're going to generate. But I also think that you really need to be able to sit with a video producer and go, your ideas are good, but here's why I think my ideas are also good, because I understand a little bit about what your world is like. And I think when we were younger, there was too many artists that go, well, I don't want to understand about contracts. I'm going to get somebody else to do all that work for me. And in Triumph's case, we went, no. And so if we blazed any trail, I would like to think that we were an independent band before independence, before there was indie anything,
The legend of Triumph continues to live on, and will live on from coast to coast. I know you guys are going down to the U.S. as well with this 50th anniversary tour. We can't wait for you to arrive in Hamilton at TD Coliseum. Best of luck with the tour, and we'll see you guys on Saturday. Thanks for joining us today.
You're welcome, Rick. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Rick Emmett and Gilmore from Triumph. Thank you for catching the Newsmakers podcast. A massive thank you to the all-star cast behind the scenes as well. If you like today's episode, click the thumbs up, hit subscribe, leave a comment. Catch the Newsmakers podcast on chch.com/podcasts and wherever you get your favorite podcasts.